Muscles we'll focus on in this video are the rectus femoris muscle of the quadriceps and the tensor fascia latae, or TFL. These muscles make up the hip flexor group. Tight hip flexors can cause poor compression at the catch and poor reach during recovery, as well as low back pain and anterior pelvic tilt. We'll begin by foam rolling the muscles of the quadriceps, both above the knee and below the hip. Roll slowly and methodically along the inner groin side of the quadriceps, as well as along the outer IT band side. After several broad strokes, switch over to a lacrosse or tennis ball and roll on the main thigh muscles, seeking trigger points. When you find one, settle on it for at least 30 seconds before moving on. As you can see here, I'm paying special attention to the TFL at the high middle portion of the hip, as this is often tight, but will also work down to the lower quadriceps. Stretch the hip flexors with the three-way hip opener, the lunge stretch, or the couch stretch. Right now I'm showing the three-way hip opener, which is covered in the mobility and warm-up video. With all hip flexor stretching, make sure to keep the glutes and torso braced. So right here I'm doing the lunge stretch. You can see I'm stretching my left hip flexor, so I'm going to keep my left glute flexed as well as my abdominal muscles braced to keep the focus of the stretch on the hip flexor muscles. Next is the couch stretch, which is an advanced hip flexor stretch that should really be worked up to. This is a more intense hip flexor stretch because the lower leg is also flexed. So the rectus femoris, which is a two-joint muscle, is getting stretched from both the lower leg side as well as from the upper hip side. Hip flexor problems tend to be a result of tightness rather than weakness. So for exercises, we'll mostly focus on working the hip flexors through a full range of motion, through full hip extension exercise as well as rear foot elevated split squats.